Have you ever felt it, that strange stillness before something unseen touches your soul? Maybe it's not coincidence. Maybe it's not imagination. Maybe tonight, God is about to inject something into you. Not a thought, not a feeling, but a presence. Ibn Arabi once said, "The divine does not arrive, it awakens inside the heart." So if you're here right now, listening to this, it's not by accident. Something beyond you is trying to reach you. And tonight might be the night it finally does. There is a silence that is not the absence of sound, but the presence of something deeper, something alive. When Ibn Arabi said, "Silence is the language of God, all else is poor translation," he wasn't calling us to reject the world or hide from it. He was pointing toward an inner stillness that allows the divine to speak in its true form. You see, words are limited. They can describe, they can point, they can hint, but they can never fully capture what is infinite. Silence, however, has no such limits. It becomes the space where the infinite can reveal itself. Before anything divine can enter you, the noise must die. That noise is not the chaos of the streets or the hum of the city. It's the endless conversation happening inside your own head, the repetition of fears, desires, memories, and plans. It's the voice that never stops commenting, judging, analyzing, and worrying. That is the noise that blocks the signal of the divine. It's like trying to hear the soft hum of the wind while standing beside roaring thunder. The truth is always there, but the mind is too loud to hear it. Every prophet, every mystic, every seeker who found something real began by turning inward towards silence. It is not a silence of withdrawal, it is a silence of surrender. When you stop trying to shape reality with your words and thoughts, something else begins to move. It's as if the universe has been waiting for you to stop speaking long enough to finally tell you something. The injection begins when the tongue stops moving, when you stop filling the sacred space inside you with your own noise. But silence is not easy. It is terrifying at first. The moment you turn off the distractions, the music, the scrolling, the conversations, the mind panics. It rushes to fill the void. You start remembering everything that went wrong, everything that could go wrong. The silence confronts you with yourself, and that's exactly where the transformation begins. Because what God wants to inject into you cannot land in a heart full of clutter. The silence is the surgery room of the soul. It's where the false layers are peeled away so that the true core can breathe again. In silence, you begin to notice what you never did before. You start to hear your heartbeat, your breathing, the rhythm of your body in harmony with the world. You begin to feel that everything around you, the trees, the air, the stillness of night, is whispering something. Ibn Arabi said that every form in existence is a word spoken by God. But to hear that word, you have to stop shouting your own. When the noise fades, you realize that silence isn't empty. It's full of meaning, full of presence, full of something that feels like home. You begin to understand that silence is not a lack of expression, but the highest form of communication. The universe speaks to you in silence because words would be too small to carry what it has to say. There's a sacred moment that happens when you stop speaking and simply listen, not with your ears, but with your being. The mind relaxes, the heart opens, and you begin to sense an energy that doesn't belong to thought. It's subtle, but undeniable. You feel it moving through you like a quiet current. That is the beginning of divine contact. That is the first taste of the unseen injection, not a force that comes from above, but something that rises within, like water finding its way through cracks in stone. This silence is not passive. It's not emptiness for its own sake. It's active listening. It's the heart turned toward the source, ready to receive. When you sit in silence, you're telling the universe, "I'm done speaking. Now I'm ready to be spoken through." And that's when the true transmission begins. You don't have to go to a monastery or a mountain to find this silence. You can enter it anywhere, sitting at your desk, lying in bed, walking under the night sky. All you have to do is stop chasing the next thought. Let it pass. Don't fight it, don't follow it, just let it dissolve. Then something incredible happens. Behind the noise of the mind, there's a vast stillness waiting, like a quiet field stretching beyond imagination. That stillness is not just peace, it's intelligence. It's the place where God communicates without words. Ibn Arabi taught that silence is not about muting yourself, but about tuning yourself. Imagine an instrument constantly out of tune because it's been played too roughly, too often, too loud. When you rest it, when you allow it to sit in stillness, it slowly returns to harmony. You are that instrument. The stillness is the tuning. In the quiet, the divine hand reaches out, adjusts your strings, aligns your rhythm, and prepares you for the music of life once again. Every time you speak without listening, you miss the voice beneath your own. Every time you fill the air with explanations, you shut out revelation. The unseen injection that Ibn Arabi speaks of is not something that can be earned by effort or understanding. It's something received in openness. And silence is the posture of openness. It's how you show the universe that you are ready. Tonight, if you can, find a few moments just to be still. Don't try to meditate perfectly. Don't try to feel anything special. Just be quiet. Let the world fade for a moment. Let the inner voices tire themselves out. And when they do, notice the quiet space that remains. That space is not just absence, it's presence. It's where the divine enters. It's where God injects His essence into you, not as words or ideas, but as a direct experience. In that silence, something shifts. The world feels softer, your breath feels deeper, and you sense a warmth that has no source. That is not imagination. That is not your mind playing tricks. That is the gentle arrival of what has always been waiting to reach you. And if you can stay in that moment even for a few seconds, you'll understand what Ibn Arabi meant when he said that silence is the true language of God. You don't need to seek messages anymore. You don't need signs or visions. The silence itself is the message. It's the space through which the infinite whispers, "I am here. I always have been." And once you've heard that whisper, you'll never fear the silence again. You'll crave it, because that's where you meet what's real. That's where you are injected with something eternal. That's where you stop being a seeker and start being the vessel through which the divine speaks. The heart is not just a piece of flesh beating in your chest. It is the sacred center of your being, the throne upon which the divine sits when you are ready. Ibn Arabi wrote that the heart has the power to contain God, though the heavens and the earth cannot. Think about that. The vast universe, with its endless stars and galaxies, cannot hold what your heart is capable of holding. But there is a condition: the vessel must be clean, empty, and open. You are not just a body moving through time. You are a vessel designed for light. Everything that happens to you, every joy, every heartbreak, every silence shapes the inside of that vessel. Some moments polish it, others fill it with dust. And when it becomes cluttered with fears, pride, resentment, or desire, the divine light has nowhere to land. That is why purification of the heart is not a religious ritual. It is an act of preparation. You do not need to chase God. You only need to make space for Him to enter. Imagine holding a cup full of muddy water. No matter how pure the spring is, if you pour it into that cup, it will still be clouded. The heart works the same way. When it is filled with anxiety, anger, or constant need, the divine injection cannot be received clearly. The message becomes distorted. The energy becomes blocked. So the first step is not asking for more from God. It is releasing what is not his. Ibn Arabi said that the heart expands and contracts based on its purity. When you are consumed by fear, your heart shrinks. When you forgive, when you surrender, it expands. You feel that expansion when you experience deep peace for no reason, when you suddenly feel safe even though nothing has changed around you. That is the heart stretching wide enough for the divine to move inside. Expansion is not a feeling of happiness. It's a feeling of being available. Think about your day. How often do you let the heart breathe? We fill it with screens, words, judgments, goals, and comparisons. Every worry becomes a stone, every regret another layer of dust. And then we wonder why we feel disconnected, why we can't feel God. The truth is, He never left. The signal is just covered. Your heart is not broken, it's buried. You don't need to fix it. You need to uncover it. When the heart begins to clear, you start to feel things differently. You listen differently. You love differently. Even the smallest acts, washing your hands, looking at the sky, breathing, begin to feel sacred. That's because the vessel is now functioning as it was meant to. The divine current flows through you effortlessly. Ibn Arabi called this the heart's unveiling, when the heart becomes transparent, so that only the light remains visible. But this unveiling doesn't happen through force. It happens through surrender. You cannot polish the heart by attacking it. You polish it by softening it. When someone hurts you, and you choose to release instead of retaliate, the heart shines. When life closes one door, and you stop resisting the closure, the heart expands. When you stop demanding that the world match your expectations, the vessel begins to clear. Every act of humility opens another inch of space inside you for the divine to dwell. The heart is not a storage room for pain. It is a channel for presence. When you hold on to grudges or past wounds, you are blocking the flow of what could heal you. Ibn Arabi often described the heart as both mirror and window. A mirror reflects only what stands before it. A window allows you to see beyond. Most people live with mirrored hearts, only reflecting their own pain, their own stories, their own fears. But when the mirror is cleaned, it becomes a window. And through that window, the divine gaze enters. You can begin this process at any moment. You don't need rituals, you don't need complex words. Just close your eyes, take a breath, and ask yourself, what is my heart full of right now? What am I carrying that no longer belongs to me? Be honest. If it's anger, let it be seen. If it's sadness, let it speak. The act of seeing is already cleansing. Every time you bring awareness to the heart, you shine light into it. Darkness cannot survive awareness. Sometimes you'll feel resistance. The ego will say, "This is too hard. I can't forgive. I can't let go." But Ibn Arabi would remind you that is the noise of the vessel trying to keep its walls intact. The heart fears emptiness because it doesn't know what will replace what it loses. But that emptiness is the very space where God enters. When you release what is false, the real rushes in. That is the divine injection, a current of peace so strong that it dissolves the illusion of separation. To receive that, you must treat your heart as holy ground. Be gentle with it. Feed it silence, kindness, and truth. Speak less, listen more. When you speak, let your words rise from love, not defense. When you listen, listen not just with ears, but with presence. Let people's words pass through you without getting trapped. Every act of deep listening polishes the vessel a little more. And remember, the heart cannot be purified by isolation alone. It is polished in the friction of relationships, in the struggles of daily life. Every challenge is an opportunity to see what still clings to you. Every disappointment is a reminder of what you still need to release. Life itself is the polishing cloth. You are not being punished. you are being prepared. So tonight, when you lie down and place your hand over your chest, remember this: that steady rhythm beneath your palm is the sound of the divine knocking. With each beat, the universe is reminding you, I am here, waiting for space. If you can feel even one heartbeat in stillness, if you can breathe deeply and whisper, I am open, the process begins. You may not feel a flash of light or hear a sacred voice. The injection doesn't arrive with thunder. It arrives quietly, as warmth, as a calm awareness spreading through your being. That warmth is not your imagination. It's the divine energy flowing through the vessel you have finally cleared. The heart becomes the meeting point between you and what is greater than you. And once you've felt that even once, you will never again mistake emptiness for absence. You will know that to empty the heart is not to lose, but to make room for the infinite. The vessel is ready. The injection is already on its way. Love is the most powerful force in existence, and Ibn Arabi saw it as both the path and the destination. He believed that love is not something we feel toward God. It is the way God reveals himself through us. To him, love was not emotion. It was energy, the pulse of creation itself. Everything that exists, every form and every soul, is a reflection of divine love seeking to know itself. When you begin to understand love this way, it changes everything. Love is not a possession, not a transaction, not even affection. It is movement, a current flowing from the source through everything it touches. Ibn Arabi wrote that the entire universe came into being because God loved to be known. Creation itself is love, expressing its own name. That means when you love, you are not simply feeling something personal. You are participating in the same divine act that brought everything into existence. Think about that for a moment. When you feel love for a person, a sound, a sunset, a moment of truth, it's not coming from outside you. It's rising from the same center where God moves. Love is the bridge that connects the seen and unseen. It is the invisible thread tying the heart of the human to the heart of the divine. But this love cannot flow where resistance lives. When your heart is tangled in fear, judgment, or pride, the current weakens. That's why Ibn Arabi's teachings always return to surrender, because surrender clears the path for love to move freely. The ego wants to own love. It wants to turn it into a story of mine and yours, to define it, to control it. But love, in its true form, cannot be owned or defined. The moment you try to hold it, it slips away. The moment you let it flow, it fills everything. You've probably experienced this. The more you chase love, the farther it feels. The more you demand it, the more it resists you. But when you soften, when you love simply for the sake of loving, something miraculous happens. Love begins to return from directions you never expected. That is the divine rhythm. Love flows through open hearts, not grasping hands. Ibn Arabi said, "My heart has become capable of every form." He meant that when love has truly taken root in the soul, the heart stops discriminating. It no longer says, "This is holy and that is not," or "This person is worthy and that one isn't." A heart filled with divine love sees everything as an expression of the same source. That doesn't mean it becomes blind. It becomes wise. It recognizes light even inside shadow. It sees the divine reflection even in the face of the stranger. This kind of love doesn't depend on who's standing before you. It's not reactive. It doesn't arise because someone deserves it. It arises because your being is tuned to the frequency of love itself. The sun doesn't choose where to shine. It simply shines. The ocean doesn't decide who can touch its waves. It simply moves. When you live in divine love, you become like that, effortlessly giving without losing yourself, because what you give is infinite. Many people think love is fragile, but Ibn Arabi saw it as the most indestructible thing in the world. Hatred collapses under its own weight. Fear dissolves in the face of love's clarity. Love is not soft, it's unbreakable. But to reach that strength, you have to let go of the versions of love that depend on outcome. As long as you love to get something in return, the current remains shallow. When you love simply to connect with the essence of being, the current deepens beyond measure. It's easy to talk about love when life is kind, but real love is tested in pain. When someone disappoints you, when a relationship ends, when the world feels cold, that's when you discover whether your love was built on attachment or truth. Ibn Arabi would say that heartbreak is not the death of love, it's its purification. The pain you feel is not love breaking, it's your ego being peeled away so love can flow more freely. Each loss becomes a doorway, each wound a space where divine light can enter. When you let love be your teacher, everything changes. You begin to treat every experience, even the painful ones, as messages from the divine. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me about love?" The answers come quietly. Sometimes they come as forgiveness, sometimes as patience, sometimes as a deeper compassion for others who are also learning to open their hearts. And here's the truth. When love becomes your focus, you stop feeling separated from God. The distance between you and the infinite disappears. You realize that what you've been searching for was never out there. The divine has been pulsing inside your heart from the very beginning, waiting for you to notice. Love doesn't bring God to you, it reveals the God already within you. To live this way, you don't have to be a saint. You just have to keep choosing openness, moment after moment. When you're hurt, choose understanding instead of revenge. When you're ignored, choose compassion instead of bitterness. When you're uncertain, choose faith instead of fear. These choices are small, but they expand the vessel. Each one clears another pathway for love to flow through you. Ibn Arabi described love as the breath of the merciful. Imagine that every breath you take is a reminder that divine love is sustaining you. It's the force that keeps your heart beating and your soul alive. When you inhale, you receive that mercy. When you exhale, you return it to the world. That exchange is the essence of existence, receiving and giving love endlessly, without interruption. So, tonight, if you want to feel the divine injection, don't chase visions or miracles. Just love. Love quietly, without need, without proof. Love something simple a moment, a sound, a memory, until you feel it radiating from your chest. That warmth you feel is not an emotion. It's the current of the infinite, reminding you that you are connected. The path of Ibn Arabi is not a path of theories or beliefs. It's a path of deep, living love. And when you finally allow that love to move through you freely, you will see that everything, every struggle, every joy, every breath has always been an expression of that one truth. Love is the way God moves. Love is the way He injects Himself into creation. And tonight, if your heart is open enough, that current might just pass through you too. Every breath you take is a message from the unseen. It is easy to forget that breathing is not just a physical act. It is a sacred rhythm shared between you and the divine. Ibn Arabi taught that existence itself is sustained through the breath of the merciful. The world is constantly being renewed, moment by moment, through this divine breathing. You inhale what He gives, you exhale what you release. And if you become aware of this, if you truly feel it, every breath can become a doorway to the presence of God. When you breathe unconsciously, you live unconsciously. Life feels mechanical, hurried, anxious. The mind takes over, racing ahead or looking backward, drowning the soul in noise. But when you breathe with awareness, slow, deep, attentive, something changes. The world softens, the noise fades. You begin to feel the pulse beneath all movement. That pulse is not yours. It is the rhythm of the universe flowing through you. The same force that moves galaxies is moving in your chest. The same presence that gives life to oceans and winds is giving life to you right now. Ibn Arabi saw every breath as a conversation between creation and the Creator. With each inhale, you accept what the divine is offering you in this moment: energy, clarity, awareness. With each exhale, you surrender what no longer serves you: worry, fear, the illusion of control. This simple act, repeated thousands of times a day, can become a form of remembrance. It is prayer without words. When you breathe with intention, you are no longer just surviving. You are participating in the eternal rhythm of being. Think of how easily we overlook this miracle. We wake up, rush into our thoughts, our routines, our plans, and yet the most intimate connection to the source is happening every second within us. You do not need to climb mountains or travel to holy places to meet God. You only need to pay attention to what is already happening inside you. Each breath is an invitation to return to the present, where the divine always waits. When life becomes overwhelming, when fear grips you, the fastest way to reconnect is through your breath. Stop. Breathe in deeply. Hold it for a moment. Feel that invisible life force entering you. Then, let it go slowly. Feel what leaves with it: the tension, the noise, the need to control. You will notice that even in the midst of chaos, peace still lives between one breath and the next. That pause, that stillness between inhale and exhale, is sacred. It is the doorway between the seen and the unseen, the human and the divine. Ibn Arabi often wrote about this space between breaths. He called it a moment of renewal, where creation is recreated continuously by the breath of the merciful. To him, life wasn't a straight line of time, but a series of divine breaths giving rise to existence over and over again. Every exhale is a small death, every inhale a resurrection. This means that right now, as you listen to these words, you are being born anew with every breath. The past is dissolving, the future has not yet arrived. Only this moment, this living, breathing now, is real. To live in awareness of that is to live in constant union. It doesn't mean you escape the world. It means you move through it differently. You speak slower, listen deeper, act from a calmer center. The same breath that animates your body also animates the stars. When you recognize that, separation begins to fade. You stop saying, "God is somewhere else," and start realizing, "God is breathing me." The breath can also become a mirror. When your breathing is shallow, it reflects anxiety, resistance, and fear. When it is deep and steady, it mirrors trust and surrender. So, ask yourself, what is my breath saying about me right now? Is it rushed? Is it tense? Or is it flowing freely? Ibn Arabi would tell you that your breath reveals the state of your heart. You cannot hide your inner condition from the breath. It always tells the truth. That is why mystics treat breathing as a form of remembrance, not just meditation. Each inhale becomes a silent acknowledgement. He gives. Each exhale becomes a quiet surrender. I return. When you live this way, you start to see everything: the wind through trees, the waves at the shore, the rhythm of footsteps as echoes of that same divine breath. The entire world becomes a living symphony of inhaling and exhaling. Even in stillness, the breath continues. Even in pain, it remains faithful. It asks for nothing but your awareness, and that awareness transforms everything. Suddenly, a simple act becomes sacred. The air feels alive, carrying the touch of the unseen. You realize that you are not breathing alone, you are being breathed. Something far greater is moving through you, sustaining you, loving you, moment after moment. Try this tonight. Sit quietly, close your eyes, take one slow, deliberate breath. Feel it enter through your nose, fill your lungs, expand your chest. Don't rush. Hold it gently. This is the moment of divine contact. Then release it with gratitude. Imagine that with each exhale, you are offering everything back. Your fears, your control, your thoughts. Keep doing this until your breathing feels effortless. That effortlessness is the natural state of the soul when it's aligned with its source. You may begin to notice something subtle, a warmth in your body, a peace in your chest, a sense that you are being held by something invisible. That is not imagination. That is awareness deepening. It is the realization that the divine presence was never distant. It has always been as close as your next breath. The more you notice it, the stronger it grows, until even the simplest moment becomes infused with reverence. Ibn Arabi believed that through this awareness, the entire world could become a place of worship. Every act, walking, speaking, listening, becomes sacred when done in rhythm with the divine breath. You don't have to force enlightenment. You breathe it. You don't have to search for revelation. You inhale it. You don't have to climb to the heavens. You're already breathing their air. So when you feel lost, when your mind grows loud, when life feels too heavy, come back to the breath. Come back to the rhythm that never abandons you. Inhale, and know that you are receiving the mercy of existence. Exhale, and know that you are giving it back. The cycle continues endlessly, and you are part of it. Not a separate being trying to reach God, but a living expression of God's own breath. Every breath is an invitation to remember who you are. You are not a body that breathes. You are the breath itself, the silent movement of the divine through human form. And when you realize that, when you truly feel it in the quiet of night, you will understand why Ibn Arabi said that to breathe consciously is to pray without words. It is to live in constant remembrance. It is to feel, with every inhale, that God is already within you, injecting life, light, and love into your being, one sacred breath at a time. What you seek is already within you. These words from Ibn Arabi hold a truth so profound that it can shake the foundations of how you see the world. Most of life is spent in pursuit of success, love, answers, and meaning. We are taught to look outward, to search the horizon for what feels missing inside. But Ibn Arabi reminds us that the journey does not lead outward, it folds inward. The path you walk, the prayers you whisper, the signs you chase, they are not leading you somewhere new. They are leading you back to what has always been inside you. The illusion of distance is what keeps you restless. You believe that peace, purpose, and divine connection exist somewhere outside your reach, hidden in the future, or buried in holy places. But the divine is not a destination. It is your essence. The soul was not created apart from God, but from His very breath. That means what you seek has never been missing, only veiled. The search is not about finding, it's about remembering. It's about removing the layers of noise, fear, and false identity until what is real can be seen again. Ibn Arabi said, "He who knows himself knows his Lord." The meaning is simple but vast. To truly see the divine, you must first look deeply into your own being. Every quality you admire in God, mercy, wisdom, creativity, love, already lives within you in potential form. The work of the seeker is to uncover it. You don't summon God by calling upward. You awaken Him by looking inward. When you stop running from yourself, the light that was hidden begins to rise. The human tendency is to seek outside validation. We think that if someone else loves us, if the world praises us, if we achieve enough, we'll finally feel whole. But that wholeness can't be given to you by anyone. Even when the world applauds, the feeling fades. That's because no external voice can replace the sound of your own soul, recognizing its source. The divine injection you are waiting for isn't something that descends from the sky. It emerges from the center of your being when you align with truth. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your inner world as a vast sky. Thoughts and emotions pass through like clouds, sometimes light, sometimes dark, sometimes stormy. But beneath them, the sky itself never changes. It remains pure, open, untouched. That sky is your true self, the space in which everything arises and passes. God resides not in the clouds, but in the sky itself. When you identify with the passing emotions, you lose sight of the stillness behind them. When you rest in awareness, you rediscover the sky. That rediscovery is what Ibn Arabi called knowing yourself. It is not a grand revelation, but a quiet remembering. You begin to realize that you are not your failures or your successes, not your fears or your desires. You are the witness behind all of it, and that witness is divine. You start to see that your very capacity to love, to perceive, to create, is proof of the divine presence within you. God expresses himself through your awareness. You are the instrument, he is the music. This is why the mystics don't chase signs or miracles. They don't need them. They know the greatest miracle is consciousness itself. The simple fact that you can experience, feel, and exist. The same awareness through which you hear these words is the same awareness through which God experiences creation. It's not separate. It never was. But how do you reach this realization when life keeps pulling you outward? The answer is simplicity. Start noticing the moments when you are most present, when you're absorbed in music, when you're watching the sunset, when you lose track of time in awe or gratitude. Those moments are not random. They are glimpses of your true state moments, when the mind quiets and the heart expands enough for your divine essence to shine through. The key is not to chase those moments, but to cultivate the stillness that allows them to appear naturally. The ego will resist this truth. It survives on the idea that something is missing, that you need to do more, become more, achieve more. It wants you to keep searching, because searching keeps it alive. But once you stop searching, once you realize that everything you've been seeking is already here, the ego begins to dissolve. That dissolution can feel uncomfortable at first, like losing control, like stepping into the unknown. But what you lose is illusion. What you gain is freedom. Ibn Arabi described the self as both the veil and the doorway. When you see yourself only as a separate person, the self becomes a barrier. But when you look deeply enough to recognize the divine spark within, that same self becomes the entrance to the infinite. The journey from illusion to truth is not a journey through distance. It's a journey through awareness. Every step you take inward reveals more of what was always there. Tonight, instead of asking for something new to arrive, try being still enough to feel what's already here. Don't ask for signs. Don't wait for divine thunder or lightning. Sit quietly and feel your own existence, the breath, the heartbeat, the awareness that notices it all. That awareness is not yours alone. It is the field of God moving through you. You are not separate from it. You are made of it. The injection you seek is the recognition of that unity. The more you remember this, the less you fear. You stop pleading for light and start shining it. You stop begging for peace and start emanating it. You stop seeking meaning and start becoming the meaning itself. Life stops being a chase and starts becoming a dance, a rhythm between the human and the divine. between the seeker and the sought, between you and the one who has always been within. And one day, when the last layer of illusion fades, when you finally stop trying to find God as something apart from yourself, you will see that the seeker and the sought were never two. The hand that was reaching was always his hand. The voice that was calling was always his voice. The light you were chasing was always glowing in your own chest. That is the hidden message of this lesson, that the injection you long for has already happened. You were born with it. Every moment of awareness is the pulse of that divine infusion. You don't need to be filled. You only need to awaken to what's already flowing. The search ends when you realize you are what you seek, a vessel of divine consciousness, remembering itself one breath, one heartbeat, one awakening at a time. Surrender is one of the most misunderstood words in the human language. To many, it sounds like defeat, a giving up, a loss of power. But to Ibn Arabi and those who walk the path of inner truth, surrender was the highest form of strength. It was not weakness, it was wisdom. The kind of wisdom that sees clearly that the current of life flows far beyond the reach of your control, and that peace begins the moment you stop fighting it. We spend so much of our lives trying to hold things together, our plans, our identities, our futures. We believe that if we can just think harder, work faster, or pray louder, we can make everything fall into place. But Ibn Arabi knew that what we call control is often just fear, dressed as effort. The ego clings to control because it cannot imagine being safe without it. It believes that surrender means chaos, but in truth, it is resistance that creates chaos, not surrender. When you surrender, you don't lose your direction. You align with the direction that was always meant for you. You stop trying to swim upstream against the divine current and allow yourself to be carried by it. You still move, you still act, but your actions are no longer driven by anxiety or desperation. They come from a deeper knowing, the knowing that life is not happening to you, but through you. Ibn Arabi saw the entire universe as a single movement of surrender. The stars surrender to their orbits, the tides to the pull of the moon, the seed to the soil, the breath to the lungs. Everything in creation is in a state of effortless alignment. It is only the human mind that resists this flow, only the human heart that says, "No, I want it my way." Yet even that resistance, paradoxically, becomes part of the divine plan. Because every time you resist and suffer from that resistance, you are being taught gently, sometimes painfully, that surrender is the only way home. When you let go, something incredible happens. The fear that once felt heavy begins to dissolve. You start to see that the storms you tried to fight were actually winds meant to guide you. The moments that felt like endings begin to reveal themselves as beginnings in disguise. Surrender doesn't mean giving up your will. It means aligning your will with the greater intelligence that governs all things. It's not apathy, it's participation without attachment. Think about the times when you've tried to force something, a relationship, a dream, a plan, and it only brought you tension. The harder you pushed, the more it slipped away. Then, think about the times when you finally stopped fighting, when you released the need to control the outcome. How often did things begin to fall into place in ways you could never have predicted? That is the quiet power of surrender. It doesn't make you passive, it makes you available. Ibn Arabi wrote that surrender is the true prayer, not the words you say, but the posture of your heart. Real prayer is not begging God to follow your plans. It's opening yourself so that His plan can move through you. When the heart surrenders, even challenges become sacred. You begin to see that pain isn't punishment. It's a form of purification. Every difficulty is shaping you into a vessel capable of carrying more light. Every loss is an emptying to make room for something new. This surrender doesn't happen in a single moment. It unfolds layer by layer. First, you surrender your plans, then your pride, then your need to understand why things happen. Eventually, even your idea of who you are begins to soften. The identity you once clung to, the labels, the stories, the image of me, starts to dissolve, revealing something vaster underneath. The more you release, the more you realize there was never anything to lose. You were never in control, and that is the most liberating truth you can discover. The mind will resist this. It will tell you that surrender means danger, that if you let go, everything will fall apart. But look deeper. Hasn't the mind already led you into exhaustion? Hasn't control already proven its limits? When you surrender, you are not stepping into chaos. You are stepping into flow. The same flow that spins planets and brings dawn after darkness. You don't need to control that force. You just need to trust it. Ibn Arabi describes surrender as the ultimate intimacy with the divine. When you stop resisting, you stop standing apart. You begin to feel that you are not a separate being pleading to an external God, but a wave resting back into the ocean it came from. In that union, there is no fear, because there is no other. There is only movement, only love, only awareness being itself. Try this. The next time you face uncertainty, instead of asking, "How can I fix this?" ask, "What if I stopped fighting this moment? What if I trusted that this, too, is part of my unfolding?" Breathe into that question. Let its stillness settle in your body. You will notice that something softens inside you. A small doorway opens. That doorway is surrender. Walk through it. On the other side, the same situation still exists, but your relationship to it changes completely. You no longer feel like a victim of life. You feel like a participant in its rhythm. Surrender is not about abandoning action. It's about transforming the energy behind your actions. You can still build, create, strive, but now it comes from peace, not panic. From trust, not control. You begin to see that effort and ease can coexist. You start working with life instead of against it. That shift changes everything. The divine injection happens in the exact moment of surrender. Because as long as you cling to control, your hands are closed. Closed hands can't receive. But when you open them, when you release your grip on how things should be, grace rushes in. It fills every space you've been protecting, every wound you've been hiding. It moves through you like a quiet flood of peace. That peace doesn't depend on outcomes. It doesn't care whether things go your way or not. It's the kind of peace that says, even if everything falls apart, I am still held. And that's when the miracle unfolds. Because the very things you thought you'd lose by letting go, love, clarity, stability, begin to return, but in purer form. They no longer come from your striving. They come from alignment. You realize that the universe was never withholding anything from you. It was waiting for you to stop clutching so it could finally give. Surrender is the hidden key to the unseen world. It's the posture through which the divine flows freely. When you surrender, you don't disappear. You become transparent. The light moves through you unhindered. You no longer distort it with fear or expectation. You simply become the space where God can dwell. So tonight, when you close your eyes, take a deep breath and whisper to yourself, I don't have to carry it all. I don't have to know everything. I don't have to force anything. Feel the weight lifting. That feeling is not weakness, it is grace. It is the quiet arrival of what Ibn Arabi spoke of, the moment when surrender turns into power, when letting go becomes the only true way to receive. And in that stillness, you'll realize the secret: the divine was never testing your strength. It was waiting for your surrender, because that's where the injection happens. That's where peace begins. And that's where you finally remember that the hands which hold you are far stronger than the hands that tried to hold everything else. The night is sacred. It always has been. Long before words, long before prayer had shape, the night was the time when the human soul came closest to the divine. Ibn Arabi believed that the night conceals what the day reveals too quickly. In the day, you are pulled outward by noise, by movement, by the demands of survival. But at night, everything slows down. The world folds into silence, and in that silence, the soul begins to speak. It is then that God comes nearest, not with thunder or light, but with stillness that vibrates like an unseen whisper. The darkness frightens many because it strips away distraction. Without the lights and the noise, you have to face what's inside you. But this is precisely why night is sacred, because it removes the illusions that comfort you in daylight. In the darkness, you can no longer hide behind your roles, your plans, your possessions. You stand alone with your breath, your heart, and your truth. Ibn Arabi would say that the night is not absence, it is unveiling. It is when everything false goes quiet, so that what is real can finally be heard. He taught that God hides in what we fear to face. The night represents the unknown, the unseen, the formless, and yet it is from this mystery that the divine reveals itself. When you step into the night with awareness, you step into the womb of creation. The same darkness that hides the stars is the darkness that gives them birth. The same silence that makes you uneasy is the silence through which revelation travels. Look at the world when it sleeps. The streets are still, the sky vast and deep, the air cooler, softer. In this hour, everything feels suspended. It's as if creation itself is holding its breath, waiting for you to notice. This is the moment Ibn Arabi spoke of the hour of intimacy, when the veils are thinnest, when the divine moves quietly through the world, seeking open hearts to touch. You don't need to light candles or chant prayers to find this connection. You only need to be present. Sit in your room when everyone else has gone to sleep. Turn off the noise. Let the hum of your thoughts slow down. Listen. There is a rhythm beneath the quiet, the faint pulse of something alive. It is not coming from outside. It's the heartbeat of existence itself. You are hearing the same pulse that moves galaxies, the same rhythm that breathes through trees, oceans, and stars. That rhythm is God moving through the fabric of being. Ibn Arabi would say that when you are awake in the night, you are not alone. The divine is awake with you. The stillness that surrounds you is His presence, a gentle invitation to listen differently. This is why revelation so often comes at night. When everything else is silent, the soul finally becomes sensitive enough to hear the subtleties of the unseen. You may not hear words, but you will feel something. A sense of warmth, a knowing without thought, a peace that doesn't depend on reason. That is how God injects His essence, not through thunder, but through tenderness. The night also teaches surrender. In daylight, you act, you plan, you do, you build. But at night, you rest, you release. You trust that the world will turn without your effort. Sleep itself is a lesson in surrender, a daily rehearsal for returning to the source. You let go of control, and yet life continues. You stop striving, and yet breath moves through you. You become passive, and yet renewal begins. This is the mystery of the night. Creation is sustained not only by doing, but by being. If you can stay awake in that stillness for even a short while, not fighting sleep, not forcing meditation, just resting in awareness, you will feel something subtle shift inside. The heart softens, the mind quiets. You realize that the same darkness that seemed so empty is actually full of quiet presence, full of possibility, full of divine touch. In that space, you might remember moments when you felt lost, when you begged for signs or answers, when everything seemed unclear. And you might suddenly understand that clarity was never meant to come through noise. It comes in the quiet moments between thoughts, in the sacred pause the night provides. The guidance you sought has always been whispering. The night simply amplifies it. There is also a kind of humility in the night. It reminds you that you are small, that you are part of something vast. When you look at the sky, the countless stars, the silent moon, you realize how limited your struggles are compared to the immensity of creation. Yet instead of feeling insignificant, you feel held. You sense that the same power guiding the stars is guiding you too. The same intelligence that balances the galaxies is orchestrating your life in ways you may never comprehend. That realization births trust, and trust is the door to peace. Ibn Arabi wrote that the night is when lovers of God are closest to Him, because love thrives in stillness. The beloved does not shout, the beloved whispers, and only in quiet can the lover hear. That is why the mystics treasured the hours before dawn, not because of ritual alone, but because the veil between worlds thins in those hours. The divine presence feels heavier, denser, more intimate. Every breath feels like a touch, every silence like a message. Tonight, when the world sleeps, let the night be your companion. Don't fear its darkness. Step into it as if you're walking into the arms of something eternal. Let it wrap around you. Feel the stillness not as emptiness, but as fullness. The fullness of a love so vast, it doesn't need words. If you listen long enough, you may sense something gentle, stirring inside you, a soft pulse, a whisper saying, "I am here." That is the moment of divine injection, not a burst of light, not a miracle that can be seen, but a quiet infusion of awareness, a knowing that you are not alone, that you never were. It moves through your veins like warmth, through your thoughts like peace. It changes nothing outwardly, yet transforms everything within. When morning comes, the world will wake again, the noise, the light, the movement. But something inside you will remain different. You'll carry the night with you, the stillness, the trust, the awareness. And that is the unseen gift Ibn Arabi spoke of. The night doesn't just end, it leaves something behind. A presence that lingers in your heart, whispering throughout the day, reminding you that silence is never empty, and darkness is never void. They are simply the veils through which God touches His creation, quietly, constantly, and always on time. So now, as this night unfolds and silence gathers around you, remember what all these lessons have been pointing toward, that nothing outside of you can give what is already pulsing within. You do not need to chase, to prove, or to strive. The unseen world is not far away. It is breathing through you in every moment. Ibn Arabi taught that when the heart becomes quiet, the divine begins to reveal itself through ordinary things. A breath becomes a message. A pause becomes a doorway. The stillness inside you becomes a meeting place between you and what is eternal. That meeting does not arrive with sound or spectacle. It arrives softly, like light seeping through cracks, like warmth rising from within. That is how God injects Himself into the soul, silently, completely, without demand. So tonight, let go. Let go of the weight of understanding, the endless need to know, the fear that you are not enough. Sit in the quiet of your room or beneath the open sky, and let your breath become your prayer. Inhale the mercy that is already yours. Exhale the noise that has kept you from hearing it. Feel your own heartbeat as the echo of a greater rhythm. Every beat says, "I am here, I am alive, I am held." You don't need to see miracles. You are one. You don't need to wait for signs. You are living in the middle of one. Every heartbeat, every breath, every nightfall is the divine reminding you that you are part of its unfolding. You were never apart, never abandoned, never without purpose. When dawn comes, carry this awareness with you. Walk through the day not as someone searching, but as someone remembering. Let the light of this night remain in your eyes, the stillness in your words, the softness in your heart. Speak less from fear, more from presence. See others not as strangers, but as mirrors of the same breath moving through you. And when life tests you again, as it always will return to this truth, that surrender is strength, silence is wisdom, and love is the way. Return to the inner space where God's voice whispers without sound. Return to the understanding that the divine is not waiting above, but awakening within. This is the unseen way, the way Ibn Arabi walked, the way the heart remembers. It is not a path of distance, but of depth. And once you've felt it, even once, you'll never be the same. Because now you know, you are already connected, already chosen, already filled. The night has done its work. The injection has begun. It moves quietly through your being, rewriting your story from the inside out. All you have to do now is live from that place, gently, truthfully, awake.